In this video, I'm going to give myself a challenge to where I can't do any direct damage to enemies. Although, there's some things along the way. I decided to name my little dwarf Dude Bro. And look at this masculine fella, look at him. Oh. So we're going to start out with some Constitution, Lone Wolf, of course, and then some Retribution to help reflect some damage back to the enemy. I'm also going to add Hydrosophis just so I can heal myself and also give some other things. Add a little bit of Thievery in there, you know. Also pick up a few abilities that don't deal any direct damage to enemies. And then we're done. I'm going to pick up a few things from the gift bag just to make sure that, you know, everything's a little bit more improved and I can also respec if I need to. And who doesn't want Endless Runner? Endless Runner is wonderful. Obviously, I'm going to go around and pick up a few potions. For this run, I cannot damage enemies with weapons or spells, can only use grenades or explosives, and will use Retribution for damage reflection and Unstable Talent for post-death explosions. I have to use this for the entire run through Act 1 and cannot use anything else, besides foods or potions I find along the way. Now, of course, what I'm thinking here is I'm going to go over here and talk to the Magisters and see if I can get them to attack me so I can get some bonus XP when she decides to do her explosion. But of course, you know, I deal some direct damage to him by punching him. And then I try running away here. So I get myself to a spot and Red Prince decides to throw a Firestorm Grenade, which also blocks off my path with some fire. And Beast decides that he's going to try to do something really good. But in the meantime, he ends up blocking my path completely. So I have to go all the way around. And then I realize at this point, I don't have enough AP to get through. So I throw an Armor Frost on myself so I can walk through the fire with no problem. I finally get in there and get to them. And then I decide I want to punch the Magister to get her to do her Source Blast to kill everybody else. Because, you know, I love starting mutinies. I finally get in here and find my shield that I'm going to throw on. I decide it's the best if I go around to the different origin characters and steal the different things they have on them, just because they won't be using them. I can use them too, and don't mind these panties. So these are the first two that I'm fighting on my own here. They both focus me, and I kind of have to figure out a few ways that I'm going to be able to do this, because at the moment my Retribution is not high enough for them to do a lot of damage to themselves. Luckily for me, though, I do have a Firestorm Grenade, and I throw that at their feet just to kind of do an additional bit of fire damage to them. And for some reason, I drink some beer. Just to keep myself alive, I throw a little bit of Restoration on myself. That Magister dies, and then I have to worry about the other one. I decide to go over here just to the other side of the fire because for some reason I thought he might run through it, but obviously I was poorly mistaken. I have no idea why I thought that. And at this point I'm like, screw it, I can't really fight him, so I'm just gonna run away while letting him do what he does because he just keeps using shields up, which gives him back some magic armor and some physical armor, and I can't really handle that. So right here, I'm seeing these Voidwoken, and I'm just thinking to myself, what can I use? And of course, I use Fireball, because, you know, it'll explode, and we're on the ship as well. Oh, and there's another Fireball scroll right here. At this point, the Voidlings come toward me, and then I have to figure out how am I going to get them down without them killing me. And I think to myself, we're going to run back through the fire here, just so that they have to track back through and they deal more damage to themselves. So that's what they do. They run right back through and deal some more damage to themselves. And they continue hitting me. They actually get me very, very close to death here. So I have to continue healing myself with the different food items that I found and restore myself. And finally, the first Voidwoken over here finally destroys himself after a moment of hitting me. Once I eat a few more things, of course, like mashed potatoes. Because who doesn't love some mashed potatoes? That one's down. And then now all I need to do is focus on getting this other one to kill himself. And there we go. And then I go back and I remember that I need to get my bucket. Of course, for some reason, my guy decides he doesn't want to get on the ship and ends up on the shore like this. So I go around and pick up the different things that I can find. And of course I have to be resourceful in this because I have to make potions and whatnot, so I combine an empty potion bottle and Whisperwood to get a small magic armor potion. And then I decide to stand next to the Red Prince just for some good looks. I finally add some more Retribution and more Constitution. And then I go up to the top of the bridge and add a cooking pot to make a cooking station. And then I start making myself some dinner. And a boiled potato. I also combine my small healing potions to make some healing potions themselves to give me additional healing. And I go see what happened over here with the Tusa, and then we get into the fight in the town square, and I decide that, I'll do my part by throwing a firestorm grenade at their feet, and then just letting them handle it themselves. I combine the fly garlic mushroom and a potion bottle to get a poison bottle, and some penny bun mushrooms to get healing potions. And then I go find Beast and hire him, but realize I can't use any of his abilities. I go over here to heal Dane, and then he finally gets back up and hands me the Sparkler card, and then I go respec Beast. And I gave him some Geomancer, just to make sure that he can use Fortify, and then from Hild, I go purchase some armor. I go talk to Migo, get that, and then I go into the cave and pick up a new shield. At Withermore, I try to remove his spear, but of course I can't. I'm not strong enough. I go talk to Sabille and get her to kill Stinktail for me, and then I go free Amy Row. Once I get back into the cave, I add a cooking pot to the fire, and I make some more dinners from the herrings that I found, because they're all over the place. I use a dinner and the Peace of Mind scroll that I have right here to myself to give myself enough strength to remove the spear from Withermore. Then I finally level up and get the Unstable talent, add one into Finesse just so I can get a balance of armor, more into Retribution, and then I go out here and steal some stuff, just because, I can. Alright, so I go over here and fight these Voidwoken Voidlings for the first time with Beast and myself. And I realize that they have Vampire. My main issue that I definitely learn is that enemies that can heal themselves or have resistances to the damage that they deal becomes a problem later on. So I decide to throw a poison flask to deal some additional damage to them, and then they decide to battering ram me and knock me over. So as you can see here, they start healing quite a bit with each thing of damage that they deal. So I have to start thinking outside of the box, like how am I going to defeat these guys? Because they keep healing for the damage that they deal. So I can't deal enough in order to defeat them. So I throw another poison flask, maybe thinking that that'll work as it did before. But then I just say screw it and throw another firestorm grenade. And it kills them in the meantime. I combine some more Whisperwood, get some more small magic potions, and a healing elixir from the Yarrow Flower. I go down to the dungeon and get some things, especially the prison key, so I can go upstairs. Go up here, and then I go free Lord Withermore from his jar. I head up to the study of him, and I find another shield. Go over here, get Migo's ring to Magister Yarrow, and I talk to the guys over here at the table playing. I decide to steal a firestorm grenade from Slug and throw that at them just because, I need to get them killed somehow. And then he realizes I stole from him. And then they fight me. He starts eating the food in his inventory just to get back some of his health. And then he starts smacking me. I do need to manage to keep myself alive long enough so that they start dealing more damage to themselves, but Bottletop has Mosquito Swarm, which does heal her in the long run, so I need to figure out a way to get rid of her. And then I've realized I have another Firestorm grenade, so we're going to go ahead and throw that. And then Slug decides he's going to run away and says he's going to come for me. And then he comes right back and smacks me again. Slug finally dies to some fire damage, and then I have to figure out how I'm going to get rid of the last two. Ralvo and Bottletop. He starts casting more fire spells at my feet, and then I need to run away and heal myself because I'm starting to get a little bit low, so I decide to use a healing potion to keep myself alive. And then he still chases me because he really doesn't like Beast for some reason. even though Dude Bro is a lot lower. So then Bottle Top finally hits Dude Bro and she kills herself with his damage. On my way over to the turtles, I need to go fight them. Turtles decide, of course, to kiss Dude Bro quite a bit and then waddle on over to him. At this point, I just need to make sure that my armor's up high enough, and I also need to make sure that we aren't losing too much health. So I need to cast shields up and restoration, just to make sure everything's still going well. And of course, I'll let the turtles do their thing by damaging my characters. This turtle doesn't like me enough that he's battering ram to knock down Beast. I decided to cast a little bit of rain to get rid of some of the oil, just because I know of the explosions. But of course, they don't care. They're still going to keep kissing Dude Bro. I still need to keep him alive, so I need to use another healing potion while they keep damaging themselves on me. And then, of course, he uses Impalement and makes more oil off to the side there. And then finally, this turtle damages himself enough to kill himself on Dude Bro and cause a chain reaction explosion. Then I combine some more healing potions, because I gotta do that repeatedly. And combine my magic armor potions to make them bigger. Then over here, because I don't have Fortify yet on Beast, I go and steal from the Geomancer vendor on the beach. Just because. He doesn't need any of this stuff, does he? I don't think so. After that, it's time to head on over to the alligators. Of course, they do their rounds of fossil strikes and hitting my team with big balls of rocks and oil. At this point, I just have to keep letting turns pass so that they can get closer and start dealing more damage to themselves. I try to get Dude Bro right in the middle of them so they can all focus on him, but they decide that they don't fully want to focus on him specifically. So I decided to try to keep his physical armor up with some Fortify, but this crocodile had other ideas and decided to go after Beast instead. A big problem is that they keep using Fortify on each other and on themselves. So that increases their physical armor while they just keep biting my guys. But of course, this one decides he wants to attack Dude Bro and then go for an attack on Beast, which is kind of weird because I did realize during this whole ordeal that enemies have kind of weird targeting systems. Of course, they're supposed to target the ones that are weakest, but it seems like when they're both roughly the same, they attack both, even when one is clearly weaker. And of course, I just keep letting them do their thing up until one of them gets low enough, but I still have to keep Beast alive. That one finally lands a killing blow, and it causes Unstable to deal enough damage to both of them to kill them. So now I just need to focus on one more. But it gets to the point where he's using Fortify so much that I really need to actually resurrect Beast in order to make sure that I can take this one down. On my own with just Dude Bro, I would have to use a lot of healing items to get this one to go down on his own. And even though Beast is weaker, this one still decides to go after my main character. Like I said, it's a weird targeting system. So I have to heal up my main character first, just to make sure that he does stay alive and does not die. And then this one casts enough stuff onto himself to the point where he damages himself and still does not want to target Beast, even though Beast is very clearly weaker and also right behind him. So I still need to keep my main character alive. Thankfully, their damage is high enough to where he continues to do a good amount of damage to himself, and then in the end, manages to kill himself. After that, I go over to the barrel over here and grab a bunch of herrings, and I find even more in the square over here. And of course, I'll use that to make more dinners. I go pick up this yarrow flower and then combine my potions to make a medium one. And then I go pick up Withermore's girdle, because I know that I released him, and we go fight some frogs. Which, the only bad thing about these frogs is that they are resistant to their own type of damage. So with these ones, they're resistant to poison, and since he used Poison Wave, he's resistant to earth. And then the other frog is resistant to air. The problem is that these poison frogs keep their distance and use a lot of poison damage, so my team can't actually deal damage to them when they're using Salty Mucus, because it deals poison damage directly back to them, which they're immune to. So I have to think outside of the box here. And I try to use a potion bottle to kill myself, and it didn't work. I don't know why I thought that would work. At this point, I know that I need to allow one of my characters to die in order for them to trigger Unstable and explode. So I do that. I stun him with the water flask, and then come the next turn, he explodes. And it kills the one that's resistant to air. Now I just have two more that are resistant to poison to deal with. Of course, I've got to resurrect him. I don't know why I resurrected him down here. Well, actually, no. I resurrected him down here so that I could kill this one first and then go after the other one. But of course, they try to evade me, and then I have to try to keep Beast alive, because sometimes they decide to target him even though he's not the weakest. So then he uses Poison Wave right here. I'm going to run my main character around in the Poison Wave and then cause him to die and trigger Unstable yet again. Then I know that I have to resurrect him up top to fight the other one. I have to make another poison bottle just because I ran out. I have to run around a little bit in the poison again to cause him to explode. And then it doesn't deal enough damage to kill the frog. So I have to resurrect yet again, because he won't deal damage to himself otherwise. And then he decides to leap away from me right after I resurrected him next to him. And then he attacks Beast instead. Of course. So I have to run my main character all the way down, and I decide that he needs to go. because if I don't, he's going to try to run away and he won't explode on him. So, it's time to sacrifice him and attack him. After that, he explodes, and the frogs are dead. I head back outside to deal with Gwyn, and I teleport the little chest over here to myself because it has some decent loot in it half the time. Didn't have anything good this time, but alas. I teleport Gwyn down and realize to myself, oh, you didn't teleport him to the right spot. And then he just shouts profanities at me. I head back over here and I decide that it's time to teleport Beast up here so we can search some of the things, because I did put Lucky Charm on Beast so that we can get some additional things. So we search all the chests up here. We actually get a pretty decent armor piece that I can throw on him, so I go ahead and do that. Then we head up the hill over here to make sure that we pick up the Viper's Tongue. Next, I go into the dungeon and we go fight her, because for some reason she just doesn't want us to survive and she gets really upset about that. And then I just basically have to let her kill herself. Look at her go. Wow. She just keeps swinging. She just keeps swinging. Look at her. She deals so little damage to my guys and takes so long to kill because she has to basically kill herself on my guys. Look at her. She just keeps swinging. She just keeps going. Look at that. This is a pretty fun build so far. Just getting people to kill themselves. I really have to be resourceful to make it work though. I go out there and grab a Bolitus and get a major finesse potion, or sorry, minor finesse potion, and then I go outside and give the ring back to them and talk to them, and I finally level up and add some more stats to my repertoire. I go back down here, pick up a few things, found another cooking pot, so I make some more dinners out of the 11 herrings that I found, and another boiled potato. I finally make a mind maggot grenade from the jar of mind maggots I found in the dungeon, and an empty grenade. And then I go down to the Arena of the One because I know that I need to deal with the arena down here. So, when I talk to her, I didn't even realize that she buffed us. If you talk to her a certain way, she gives you Magic Shell for up to 50 turns. That is insane. I never knew that. So then I go back in here and I decide that I need to make them come to me. So, I place my characters back behind here and I didn't realize that the archer can actually shoot through that. Which I learn here in just a second. But I need to make sure they all come toward me, so that they don't just sit up there, and I hate the mage that's sitting up on top of the scaffolding because she sucks. But yeah, they shoot me through there. So then I wait for them all to come my direction. Because if I can gather them all in one place, it makes it a lot easier to get them to damage me enough to hurt themselves. So I get out from behind the scaffolding here and I put myself behind there, up until they get a little bit closer, and I thought I was close enough to the scaffolding here to where he wouldn't be able to hit me with the archer ability, but he was. At this point I have to think about what I can use, and I decide to use an oil flask to throw that over to the mage that's sitting right over here, to make sure that she's slowed, and then I throw a little firestorm grenade right next to this guy in order to light him and her on fire. And then I realize that she just is going to start restoring people. And this guy battering rams Beast. And then also decaying touches him. So we're in a little bit of a pickle at the moment. All I have to do is just keep my two characters alive and make sure that they damage each other enough. It's really good that at this point my Retribution is high enough to where it's reflecting about 40% of damage back to them. The archer decides to go up here and then uses Ricochet, damaging himself even more. Or actually, it's a she. The Tenacious One really does not like Beast. He is solely focused on defeating him. At this point, I've gone through quite a few dinners, which came in handy. I'm glad I made 11 more in order to keep myself alive during this arena fight, because I definitely needed it. And of course, they get all their buffs back, and then they just continue to cast them. Some of these fights are long and drawn out, but finally, Rex gets close enough to the point where he's about to kill himself. Eating another dinner, and we continue on with the fight here. The archer's getting close to defeating herself as well. And another decaying touch because he really doesn't like Beast. At this point, I decide I need to get close enough to the mage in order to make sure that she kills herself on Beast. And it ends up working out in the end. They kill each other at the same time. Because of the unstable, it kills the mage, and then the archer killed herself doing damage. So thankfully I just have this one guy left, and I just have to wait for him to defeat himself. So I finally go back down to the dungeons, and I decide that this is one fight that I'm going to take on. And typically this is a harder fight, just because they have so much armor, and they deal quite a bit of damage with their bouncing shields. And that's basically all they do, is just bouncing shield the entire time. And then decaying touch, because they decide that it's best to decay him. And another bouncing shield. And a crippling blow on Beast, even though we're not moving anywhere. I do what I need to do to keep Beast alive, and then the fight continues. And another bouncing shield. And another bouncing shield. And another decaying touch. And then he finally decides to use restoration because he finally got decaying on me. And then another bouncing shield. And then another bouncing shield. And then another bouncing shield. And another decaying touch. At this point, the fight's gone on long enough to where my main character's almost down, so I decide that I need to teleport Beast out of there because I know that an explosion is about to happen. So I let them do their thing, they attack me here, and then, chain reaction explosion, they're both down. And then I pick up actually a pretty good shield for Magister Karen. After that, I get my Source Caller off because I did win the arena, and this is my time that I'm going to decide I need to exit the fort because I have my Caller off now. Now it's time for the Magister Houndmaster fight. I try to get as close to this archer as I can, but once she notices I get close, she decides she wants to run off and start shooting some arrows at me, like usual. And of course, I put Beast over here next to this other Magister, and this one decided to run up on the scaffold. And this one somehow attacks me from all the way down there. So I go up here on the scaffold, and then I park Beast up there because this is where I need to sit and bring everybody up here with me. So I decide to fortify my main character because I know that he's taking a lot of damage from the archers. And at this point, the Houndmaster decides he wants to blitz attack up to me. Try to get a bit closer over here to this archer, and then I shield up to make sure I have my magic armor and physical armor back up. And she runs away again. At this point now I've got 3 Magisters up here with Beast, and they're all ganging up on him. I was almost about to say gangbanging, but I didn't. So I just let them continue attacking them. Then I know I need to restore Beast to make sure that they go down a little bit more in health and armor before I allow any reaction to occur. After that, this Magister decides to finally use a knockdown arrow to knock down my main character. And this one also decides to use another knockdown arrow to knock down Beast. So at this point, I'm in a little bit of a pickle because both my characters are knocked down, and Beast is about to lose both of his turns because he was knocked down. And then he knocks down Beast again. At this point, I'm starting to get a little bit afraid because they might actually defeat both my characters before I can do anything. But thankfully, this one casts First Aid on herself, which replenishes her health, unfortunately. And they keep attacking Beast up here. At this point, he blitz attacks back down to Dude Bro, and then just starts swinging on him. Even though Beast is clearly the one that's closer to death. I have to make sure my character stays alive, so I give him a healing potion. Up here, they're making a pretty good amount of progress on Beast. Thankfully, they're able to do enough damage to him to where he's almost down. And I need to fortify my character down below because they might defeat him if I'm not careful. And then I give him a little dinner just to make sure that he's still good to go. And of course, after the Source Hound expires, he summons yet another. Like he always does. It's a good time to restore on my main character just to make sure he stays alive. And they get Beast down just enough to where this Magister Swordsman finally defeats him and the Magister Ranger goes down. Now I have to be very careful here because Dude Bro almost died, and I have to resurrect Beast over here to make sure that I can get him far enough away from the Magister Swordsman to bring him down. So I decided to teleport him up here to Magister Ranger to make sure that he's able to be right in her face. And then I have to heal my main character yet again. Until she First Aids again. And then she moves aside and still attacks the main character even though Beast is right in front of her face and has less health. So it's time to use Fortify on my main character, make sure that he has enough armor, and then add some armor to this guy. And then I move him over to the side, and the Magister Houndmaster decides to use a Firestorm Grenade. And then revert right around to attacking the main character again. So I still have to work to keep him alive by eating some more dinner. She finally decides to cast a fire arrow on the ground, and it doesn't do too much. Then this Magister Swordsman uses Shields Up, and then goes and attacks my main character. I keep him alive, and the Houndmaster blitz attacks up to Beast. I decided to cast some rain to see if I can get this fire doused, but it doesn't work for some reason. Like, even though I put it right up next to the scaffolding, it still didn't reach. And then he decides he wants to knock down Beast again. Finally, the swordsman defeats himself on my main character, and then at this point, I have to wait for one of them to destroy Beast. Try to keep him alive a little bit longer. And the Hound finally went away, but the Ranger casts First Aid on herself yet again, and goes right back to attacking. So I have to keep Beast alive a little bit longer to make sure that they damage themselves enough. And then he blitz attacks right back down to my main character. At this point he swings and defeats himself in the meantime. And now it's just a waiting game, waiting for the Ranger to defeat herself on Beast. And then look at this guy. He got stuck after Beast exploded, and it's hilarious. I heal Dolores, make sure he gets up. And then it's time for me to leave the sewers and head out here. I level up, and I add more points into Constitution, and finally hit 10 to Retribution. But Beast didn't level up at this point, so I go talk to Zalaskar, and I find some items in here that I like, including a new belt and a new shield, and it's time to go defeat the last person I want to defeat in this video, which is Wendigo. She has a very high tolerance for fire, which is her main source of damage, and every time I even get near her, she runs away. So she spends a small amount of time dealing damage over to my main character, and ends up almost completely depleting his magic armor in the meantime in the first turn. So she continues to cast fire magic, and she heals from it too, which is the unfortunate part. So I douse some of the fire with rain, and then I work on trying to keep them alive. And I try to get my characters close enough, but every time I get them close enough, she just runs off yet again. And then just keeps casting Staff of the Magus on me. At this point, I know I'm not going to defeat her simply on reflection damage alone, because she does have frost armor, and she does heal from fire damage. So at this point, I know that I can't defeat her that way. I have to think about how am I going to get her to stay near me long enough to make sure that my character explodes and deals damage to her. As yet again, she's casting that again. And then she comes over and smacks me, which is kind of weird. It's unlike her to do that. Here she goes yet again with more fire. To the point where she's almost got my main character down, and we're very, very close to death. But thankfully I have enough constitution to where his health is quite high. I decided to throw a firestorm grenade just to see if I can spread it, and also make sure that I deal a little bit more damage to Dude Bro. And then with this oil flask, it shows him in the radius, but for some reason it did not explode again. So I have to think outside of the box. What am I going to do to make sure that he dies close enough to her to deal damage? And I decide to ingest a small poison bottle, and it deals damage. Got her down to 85 HP, and she uses Armor Frost yet again. After that, she continues to just assault Beast. Well, I know I need to resurrect my main character yet again to do more damage to her. So I resurrect him right behind her. He's quite weak, but of course, she is not even going to want to focus on him, because the game is a little bit weird like that. So I add Armor Frost on him yet again, and also give him additional armor because I know that she's going to run off just like she did. And then she targets Beast, even though my main character is the weakest. And then she runs off all the way over here. Beast is quite close, so I have to get him close just in case that she's going to focus on him. And then it's up to me to figure out how am I going to get him close enough to where she will kill herself by dealing damage to me. So then she decides to start swinging on Beast for whatever reason. Just need to make sure that his armor is up high enough. She casts Fireball on herself and on Beast. And then still keeps focusing on Beast. Which at this point, I don't even understand how the targeting system works. They just kind of do whatever they want. So it's time to make some poison potions. So I get the Talon, get one of my normal healing potions, combine that, and make a medium poison bottle. So I get close enough to her, and I ingest it, and I didn't kill her. So she's got 6 HP left. I have to resurrect it yet again, or else she's going to heal enough. And then we'll just be back to square one. So at this point, Beast is up next. Just need to make sure that I am close enough to her to deal enough damage, and make sure that she finally dies. So I create a poison elixir, which I don't end up even using, and she somehow manages to kill herself just by doing this. And then I actually get some pretty good items from her, including a new shield that I haven't even actually identified yet. So that is the end of this video. In the next one, we're going to go ahead and fight more people in the marshes. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode where we have people kill themselves on my characters.